Hi, Glenn.
Hello.
Long time no see.
Yes,
In
yes.
what, 3.5 hours almost.
Enough time for me to have supper and to do a little grocery shopping.
Enough time for me to make a quick run to the post office, pick up my mail for the day, and briefly run through the grocery store and grab 2 whole items I forgot to get yesterday.
Well, the small town I live in does not have a grocery store. So it's either 8 miles to one and 13 miles to the other.
Well, mine was right on the way back from the post office. The post office lobby is open 24 hours a day, so
That's nice. Okay, here we go.
up to 4 people already.
Aha.
Good evening,
Hey,
good
Lisa.
afternoon, depending on where you are.
Well, I'm in Seattle, so it's evening, I guess, barely. Smoky.
I think Lisa's on the West Coast too.
Yes, Kent, Washington.
Oh yeah, just south of me.
We got 2 Washington, 1 Maryland, and 1 New York so far.
Yeah, I'm in northern New York, about 2 hours south of Montreal.
Oh, okay. That's exciting. We can be here from all over the world.
It is. I've been to some of these meetings where they were in the Royal Philatelic Society of London has been doing Zoom meetings also. It's amazing.
I can't afford their membership.
Well, no, I mean, they've opened it up to everybody.
Oh,
The meeting's not the membership.
Right.
The Collectors Club in New York won Wednesday night. I know that we had 1 person from Australia. Well, it was 9 o'clock the following morning, and somebody from London. A couple I've been on have had people from India. It's great.
Well, for work, I've been in a lot of conference calls that often involve people from India at what is midnight their time.
So for
Are
our
you members of AFDCS?
I am not, no. I'm a member of the SEAPEX board, though.
Ah,
This isn't limited to AFDCS members. If we start talking too much about first day covers, feel free to talk about something else. And I'll throw in an initial thanks to SEAPEX for helping us do this.
No, yeah, no problem.
I think it's great. It opens up a whole new avenue of one of my local stamp clubs is thinking about doing this because we can't find a place to meet so far. And so I'm thinking tonight later I'll send an email out saying how many of you have Zoom.
Well, I mean, they don't actually have to have Zoom. I mean, Zoom is just a download is very simple for someone to download to connect to a meeting. You just need someone who actually is a host.
Right, I know that.
Yeah.
For the host, it's probably worth paying the $14.99 a month because you can run meetings that run longer than 40 minutes.
Exactly.
I know. I belong to BNAPS, and they've been allowing their specialty groups to Zoom in using the BNAPS $14.99, whatever it is a month.
I've gotten the last month I definitely got my $14.99's worth. This morning we had a virtual meeting, our first day cover chapter in the Washington DC area. In addition to our local members, and 1 person from Nevada, one from Iowa, a couple from Pennsylvania, 1 from New Jersey. People normally wouldn't attend. And
Well, one from New York also.
were you on the one this morning?
Oh, no, I was on the one.
You were on the second one.
On the second one.
Yeah, for our AFDCS meeting, part of virtual SEAPEX, we had somebody from Hawaii, from Maui.
There we go.
West Coast people, Iowa, Texas, New York, again, Maryland for me. It's a great technology.
It is.
If there's any good that comes out of this, this is one of them. And you're going to see a lot of even when we go back in-person meetings, figure out how to have a web camera up front and show it on Zoom. Then people all over the country can see it.
Yep.
The only problem with that is audio may not be as good if it's just a meeting, picking up what people are saying in the meeting. And if someone does a presentation and they're not on a computer, how you have to show that. So there's still things to overcome.
There are definitely challenges, but there are opportunities too.
Oh, definitely.
And a lot of people, I'm seeing on these, I might see once every 5 or 10 years otherwise. Not everyone can travels around the country, goes to as many stamp shows as I normally would. So
It's
Well,
much
on the other-
easier to hold board meetings for clubs that are nationwide and worldwide than having to wait for the annual meeting at the main big show.
Yeah. On the other hand, I know in some of my clubs that I'm a member of, there are a number of people who don't even have much in the way of computers, so they can't participate at all by Zoom.
you can do Zoom over your phone.
Some of them have a dumb phone.
You can
Believe it or not, not everyone has a
I
smartphone.
believe you can do Zoom on the phone like I have in the background.
You can call in. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could call
I
in.
mean, you can't see the thing, but if it's a board meeting or something, at least you can hear the discussion.
And we've had a few people doing that during the day here at SEAPEX.
A lot of people there are people that had computers, but they didn't have the camera on them. So they were trying to buy the cameras, but everybody was Zooming in the world, right? So all the cameras for their computers were gone and sold out. So
Yeah.
it took a while.
I'm still using the one on my laptop. I think in the first 3 or 4 years I had the laptop, I probably used the camera twice. And
Right, yeah.
so didn't have a lot of need for it. I'm not one who normally shows everything all the time, so. But suddenly APS was doing a chat on first day covers, and again, email from Tom Lomig saying you're going to be there in a half hour, aren't you? So I downloaded Zoom and got right in.
I may be a little bit out of the ordinary because I've used video chat on and off for almost since '94. So what's that? Almost 30 years. But of course, I ran 2 computer labs and stuff like that. So
Before I retired, I worked for a large government agency in the intelligence community. We had people all around the world, and I'd used it quite a bit there.
So I do a lot of online meetings that I'm in, but we don't usually do videos. We have like one person displaying their desktop, and that's it. So I've never had any reason to use my video for work. I've used it a couple of times, but never actually needed to.
It was always nice. I was in IT, but I'd end up doing a lot of the training for HR customers, and it was nice seeing their reactions. You usually had
well, if you're doing training, yeah, I could see that.
And the first time was a bit interesting, but the more you did it, you sort of got used to it. Same with this. I like the idea of doing these just informal chats, let everyone talk. Actually, I haven't yet. I was going to say I have screen share enabled for everyone. As soon as I click on the correct box, I will. So
Boss, are you writing a book about your intelligence experience?
Unlikely.
You're the only one that isn't these days.
I have a lifetime obligation based on my security clearance.
It doesn't matter. People are security clearance still writing books.
I have one thing I'd love to write about, which may one of these random piece of information accidentally saw. One thing I'd love to write about and probably never will, so it'll stay classified. One of these things in doing the job, sometimes you see interesting things.
Right.
on the message that you sent to the Delphi thing, it said scan some of your favorite first aid covers. And so that's what I did. Is now the time to sort of show them?
Oh, let's wait another minute or two.
Okay.
Continue to say hello to everybody. Looks like Pete is finishing dinner. If he has an adult Kugel, I guess the man will have to get one. I see Vera has dropped in.
I have. Hi, everybody.
Haven't seen you since Atlanta in January. That was a different world.
It was a different world, but I'll be back to Atlanta if they ever have it in person again.
We're hoping to have the show next January. The Hilton Atlanta Northeast has been closed since April. They were supposed to open September 1st, but they weren't able to hire enough people, and they're going to reopen October 1st, we hope. So we're waiting to hear if we have a hotel we can have a show at.
So there's a possibility it may be in 2021?
We hope so. Some of us hope so. There's varying reactions on the board, but the more they've heard from the few shows that have occurred, St. Louis seemed to work very well. Local bourses seem to work very well. It could be a challenge.
However, if you read the Lynn's letter to the editor that came from one person today about the St. Louis show, they said something quote like, the reason there weren't more people there, everybody was scared off.
I think that's probably true.
You know,
that was the first one, and all right, we've 205 people went to the show, and 0 cases of COVID-19 have been reported.
Yeah.
That's a very good sign to me.
Well, has it been 2 weeks?
It's been a month.
At least, I think, yeah.
Has it been a month?
4 weeks.
But they were probably pretty well spread out at the show, and hopefully they were all wearing masks.
Everybody wore masks. Everybody was checked for temperature before they went in. Everybody that was checked passed. The only quote problem they had, that the show had a supply of masks for anyone who forgot to bring one, and Sunday morning somebody walked off with them all.
And I have a question. Did everybody have their temperature taken before they entered this Zoom room?
No.
I haven't had mine taken since I went to church last Sunday. I was visiting family in New Jersey, and the church I attend when I'm up there had its first in-person service. And they took everybody's temperature on the steps of the church outside before you went in. And we had portable communion kits with a tasteless wafer and maybe an ounce of grape juice.
Is the wafer and grape juice different from usual?
Normally, I'm Lutheran. Normally, we use bread and wine, but these were individual things with going up the communion rail or anything.
Yeah, and at the church I go to, where I'm the organist, they actually passed them out as the people came into the church.
That's
Little
exactly
tiny glasses, and at the top of it had a plastic thing you tore off, and there was a little tiny wafer, and underneath it was the grape juice.
That's exactly what that church in New Jersey bought too.
Probably somebody's making a killing on selling stuff like that.
Being good Lutherans, we had a 20-minute service and then spent another half hour outside the church talking with each other. It was a nice day, and we were standing 6 feet apart, and we kept our masks on.
Well,
St. Louis show, really they had a third of the dealers, and their attendance was about a third of normal. And I kind of have experience with that because I was in charge of their registration for 15 years or so, up till a couple of years ago. So I'm pretty acquainted with the numbers and all. And there is not a show in this country that can make it on a third of the dealers, or even half, or 3/4 of the dealers.
I'm sure they didn't break even.
Yeah.
They
Anywhere near.
They
Unfortunately,
actually got a very good deal from the hotel.
Yeah.
Well, that might have helped. That would help, yeah.
They also have a 10-year contract with the hotel, I believe. They were required to pay whether they had the show or not. So financially, it was better for them to have it this year, only with a third of the dealers, and they'll probably have it next year too. not every venue is going to be, that user friendly and be able to cut what the show committee has to pay.
Yeah.
I think in their case, the hotel was just happy to have 20 stamp dealers staying there for 3 days.
Sure. Yeah.
Apparently they eliminated all the food out requirements in the contract, and having dealt with that hotel last year for AmeriCover, I know how much we had to pay for food.
Sure.
That's why you had those free sodas in the lobby every day
You're right.
that weren't
Well,
exactly free.
That reminds me, who is bringing the beer and wine to this hospitality suite?
I guess you are, Eric.
Well, I'm bringing one. I've got one.
I'd
I'll
like
be
to
right back.
here.
I'll catch up with Pete in a second.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm not a churchgoer anymore, but when I was young and going to church, the church we went to, they always did have individual servings for the grape juice. They didn't serve wine, but they did have grape juice for the for communion, and it was all in little tiny metal cups. They'd pass around a big tray of cups, and you just pick one, and that was back
Still,
in the 70s and late 60s and 70s.
they still do it that way.
Okay, I caught up with Pete. I thought I had one more line in Kugel, but I don't. Pete's the one who got me started drinking wine in Kugel 8 or 9 years ago when he brought some to AmeriCover one year. So I'll go for the good stuff, Dogfish Head.
Well, this is Fremont Lush IPA. Fremont being a district of Seattle.
Okay.
Oh.
I have Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA.
Well, I've had Dogfish beers, yeah. Not that particular one.
They make a 60, a 75, a 90, and sometimes the 120 is rather potent.
What is that measuring?
It's how long they brew it in the hops.
Oh, interesting. So it's a matter of flavor rather than necessarily alcohol content.
Well, the longer they brew it, the alcohol content goes up and the kick goes up.
Uh-huh.
So these are intended to be very free-for-all sessions. Just like if we go to a stamp show and they have a hospitality room at night, everyone sits around and either tells tall tales or shows their favorite items. And the ones we did with the virtual stamp show, there weren't any problems. Lloyd DeVries, our president, when we were talking about, you're going to have all these listed rules. And no, I think I can trust people.
Lloyd's not here. We can talk. I was going to say, Lloyd's not here. We can talk about him right now.
If he was here, we could talk about him too.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Today I picked up a couple of books, but I obviously haven't received them yet. Got them from Eric Jackson's website. He was one of the dealers listed on the SEAPEX website.
Good, good.
The most recent acquisition I've actually received, I'm actually wearing right now.
Yeah.
Got this yesterday in the mail.
Oh, the shirt.
Yes.
You're not a member of the Ugly Shirt Club, are you?
Perhaps I should be.
There is a group of people who attend the APS shows, and on Sunday they all wear their ugly shirts and take a picture together.
Uh-huh.
Do you mean to say that his shirt is ugly?
No, I'm just describing one group. And that's what they call themselves.
Well, there's a group of Pacific Northwest dealers who used to wear the Hawaiian type postage stamp shirts all the time. They don't wear them as much anymore. Maybe they kind of wore them out over the years, but there used to be about 5 or 6 of them. Every show you'd see them in those types of shirts.
It just lets people know that stamp collecting is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, when I wear this to a stamp show, sometimes people think I must be a dealer because I'm wearing a shirt like this.
For our birthday cover conventions, for our president's banquet, anyone who's a member of the Reese chapter from Southern California is supposed to wear a Hawaiian shirt. And sometimes we had maybe 15 or 20 people wearing Hawaiian shirts, and we take a group picture at the end.
So do any of them end up with basically the same shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael Litvak.
Or
Yes, I
Matisha
think
and
he only, I
Tam's.
think he only has, I think Litvak only has one Hawaiian shirt. I have seen it at more stamp shows that I can shake a stick at. And
Pete,
he'll
how
deny
many
it.
Hawaiian shirts do you think I have?
You probably have, well, I thought you had two. You got the green one.
Actually,
don't you have a green one?
I have a second one that I got at a Baltimore Orioles baseball game, but the fit's a little bit tight.
Oh.
An example of extra large, it was about a medium.
Yeah,
I do have two of them. I've only ever worn one to America with a green one.
yeah, the green one.
I have,
think
a
I may
doctor
have-
that has, I have a doctor that does Hawaiian shirts. Only doctor I've ever had. He always wears Hawaiian shirts. He plans to retire in Hawaii.
Well, I've never been to Hawaii, but I probably have 10 or 12
I've been to
with
Hawaii.
stamps on them.
Oh,
I've been to
stamps.
Hawaii once.
I
There's
think I
always
only
a
got my-
standing joke when I was stationed on Kauai is when the cruise ships would pull into Naiwili and unload 2, 3, 4,000 people, all with money. Then they would sell them the Hawaiian shirts that they bought at Ross for $3 for $25 to $30. So once you have their money, never give it back.
That's like in a similar vein, buying something cheap and selling it. Back about 30 years ago, I lived near Lake Placid, and people were unloading their all their stuff, souvenirs they had from the 32 games. And one antique dealer had all these unused participation sheets, applications to be part of the game. I buy them for 50 cents in Lake Placid, sold them on eBay for $10 to $25, and the Europeans would eat them up. So, it's like you make a buck here, you make a buck there.
Yeah.
I was hoping to come out to SEAPEX this year. Washington State is one of the 3 states I've never been in, but maybe next year.
We're glad you're here.
Excuse me?
We're glad you're here tonight.
I'm glad somebody reached out to Chris Lazarov and said you were looking for people to participate. So
Mhm.
I think I surprised a few people when I said I wanted a hospitality suite, but it worked real well with the APS virtual show. So why not?
Mhm.
Well, I'm feel rather leery as to whether or not a January or February show might work. But I think by next September, we've got a pretty good chance that things will settle down. We should have a vaccine, hopefully by then, provide fair amount of herd immunity that we don't have to worry too much. We might still be wearing masks though, and I can deal with that if I have to.
I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
I think January might be plenty early for me to be going the most of the way across the country, but by next fall or a year from January, I think I'll feel safe, I hope.
My only
Yeah.
problem with masks is they fog up my glasses, no matter what I do.
Well,
Yeah.
I was at a BLM protest Monday, and I was wearing goggles to protect my eyes, and they really they kept the glasses from getting fogged up.
That's
They
what
They
I was
kept
thinking that, yeah. When I used to ski, cross-country skiing, I'd have problems with my glasses fogging up, and wearing goggles did help.
yes.
Face shields are pretty good too.
Well, the
Well, they
face
don't- I wa-
shields have the disadvantage of they
Better
all,
for breathing than the masks are.
and you can take the example from the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs who was wearing a mask at the football game, and he spent half the time wiping the fog off the inside as opposed to watching the plays. So
Yep.
there's your
Well,
example.
it depends on, if you're using it for as long as he as a coach doing, that's different than a standard person going in and out of a place. If you're using it for hours, the mask or shields is still gonna be a problem. Doctors are complaining all the time. My doctors complain all the time. Trying to wear a mask all day long is really difficult, even for doctors.
Someone told me that if you wash your glasses in shaving cream, that it helps prevent them from fogging.
Well, that would make sense. I've heard that with soap. Use soap and then not rinse it off completely. Leave a little bit of the soap on the glasses.
Well, there is anti-fogging sprays that you can use also.
Which is probably the same, basically probably just soap
Same,
solution.
yeah, probably the same.
The biggest
Go
problem.
to your local motorcycle shop. They have such compounds for various forms of glasses. But I've always found that wearing a pair of face sunglasses that you wear over your glasses keeps the dirt and debris off, but it also allows enough airflow to keep the glasses clear. So if you're riding across the desert in Arizona or Kuwait and you go past a lake or a swamp, you don't get the moisture on your dried out glasses, and you can still see where you're going, so you can avoid the landmines. Back to Foster.
Who is talking? We see eBay stamps.1A. Who is eBay stamps.1A?
This is Lefty Dundee. That's my seller ID on eBay.
Ah, okay. I remember you from earlier today, Lefty.
It took
Hello.
me a while the first time you were in one of the chats to put two and two together as to who you were.
Well, just remember the old saying of the Ferengi. Once you have their money, never give it back.
And of course, no good deed goes unpunished. So anybody want to show, I know Glenn said he scanned some stuff, but want to show us something and talk about it?
Well, I'll start then. You know, when I say 9/11, what do you think of?
Well, I think
I know where you're going on this, so I won't answer.
Oh, you do? Really?
Because you said something this afternoon.
Oh, did I?
I was stationed at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and I remember looking across the strait and seeing the towers come down. So 9/11, been there.
Well, there's another 9/11 that's very important in this part of New York State. September 11th, 1814.
Yeah, I'm wrong in what I was guessing.
Yeah, you're wrong? Okay.
I thought that might be the Vermont stamp.
No. September 11th, 1814 was the Battle of Lake Champlain, the Battle of Plattsburgh. And historians, and as a matter of fact, Winston Churchill said that the Battle of Lake Champlain was probably one of the greatest battles in the history of the world for its ramifications. It saved all of upstate New York from being a British possession. And it actually forced the British to more to the bargaining table. And the hero of the Battle of Lake Champlain, the Battle of Plattsburgh, because one was a land and one was a lake battle, was Commodore Thomas McDonough. And he is pictured on the 2-cent Navy
1937.
792.
Mhm.
And let me just share this. So I just thought I'd show about, I have about 5 slides here, and I'd show these are, it was issued in Washington, obviously, and these are Crosby covers. They're a little bit out of order. I don't do anything with Decatur, who's the other person on the stamp, just McDonough. And let me move this. Some other slides. Again, all Washington, but different Washington cancels. There's machine, there's a hand cancel, and like that. But the one down here, this is at the bottom is a Risco airbrushed. The one I wanted to show you. Okay, see right? Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, that's not how you spell McDonough. It's M-A-C-D-N-O-U-G-H. And it's not M-A-C capital D, it is M-A-C-D, it's a small d. It's not Irish, it's Scottish, I believe. Down here, this says 1936. This one says 1937. And the last thing, I'm not sure how, these are some unofficials from Nashua, New Hampshire, and from Houston, both a hand cancel and a machine cancel. It says dedicated on the 100th anniversary of the founding of Houston, 1934. 1934. Someone was using up old caches. So in this area, the Battle of Plattsburgh is very big, and they would actually have thousands up until 2014, which is the 200th anniversary. They had literally thousands of people in Plattsburgh, a parade that would go 3 hours long. The only time I've been in a outdoor thing where there's a mass bagpipe bands and playing God Save the Queen, Old Canada, and the Star Spangled Banner, one from the other. It's amazing.
What?
So that's, I have one other set that I'll show later. I think here we go. Hand it back to somebody.
And of course, you know what other event occurred that same week in Maryland?
The Star Spangled Banner, Fort McHenry, that's right.
We celebrated in Maryland as Defenders Day.
And
September
I
9th.
was hoping in 2014, they had a stamp issued. Well, we were all hoping up here, the more important battle in our estimation was the Battle of Plattsburgh, Battle of Lake Champlain. But all we had was some wonderful, they had a set for 25 years of, every year they had a pictorial cancel on September 11th that a friend of mine designed. So they were absolutely gorgeous.
Bill, do you have a TV or Bill Ellis, do you have a TV or something in the background?
Yes, I do. I'll go to a different location. I'm sorry.
That or just mute yourself when you're not talking.
Okay.
I'm going to mute you temporarily. That's the one thing the host can do, mute people.
I'm doing research on a cache maker called George Goldie, who did Goldcraft caches. And I'm desperate to get some of his caches done in the 1970s and 1980s for my research article. Does anybody have in their collections you can think of Goldcraft caches?
Goldcraft, and did he do lots of colors for each?
Yeah, for every issue.
I have, back in 1976, they issued the 4 Olympic stamps, and they were issued in Lake Placid. And in my stupid younger days, I decided to try and get every single cache I could. And someplace here, I have to find them. I have a number, probably 15 different Goldcraft caches, all for that one issue.
Yeah, I love to have them.
I see who you are, and I've got notes from this afternoon too. I'll make myself a note.
You need my email or?
No, you're probably in the AFDC. You probably. You remember the official family?
No, not anymore.
You could put your email on the in the chat window, so you can pick it up from there.
Chat window.
Down the bottom of the screen.
On the bottom of your screen, it'll bring up another window. You can either send it to everybody, or you can click on.
Give me a second here.
Or click on just my name at the bottom. Goldcraft.
I could find what I'm looking for. Somebody else talk while I'm trying to think.
Right there.
Yeah, I see it, but what happens when you
click on it, and it should bring up a chat window like that.
Yeah, I see it now. Well, no, I don't see it anymore.
And then you must have clicked twice. And then at the bottom, it says to everybody, or if you click on the everybody, it'll bring down a private name. You can find my name.
I've got the chat, but I don't see the other stuff, unfortunately.
Make it easy. If I Get my mouse. to
Foster
call
has my email. Maybe he can send it.
like that.
There you go.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Oh, that's
That was-
easy.
Yeah, I
I
couldn't
just
get it up.
threw it in
Foster was the
Word.
one who put it up there.
I just
Okay,
threw in a Word
Oh, okay.
document and popped it up. So give Glenn a chance to write it down.
I got it.
Got it? I'm really beginning to love the screen share in Zoom.
If anybody else, I don't know, did it go to everybody or just to Glenn?
No, everyone
Well,
saw
I
it.
saw it.
I
Yeah,
got
so
it.
anybody has Goldcraft, especially, it's hard to find the stuff done in the 70s and 80s.
I don't
What
think
years should I look for?
70s and 80s is special. And
And how would-
usually the cache has his name Goldcraft
Okay.
on it, or his address Goldie in Canton, Texas.
I know I ran across one just recently, but I don't remember too much more than I remember seeing the name.
Mhm.
in the 1980s, I collected the TVA stamp from 1982, and I don't think he did a cachet for that one.
Yeah, he didn't do them for everything in the 70s and 80s.
Or
Yeah,
if he did, I want one for my collection.
I
remember-
haven't got one, that's for sure. He
I
stopped
remember
sometime in the early 80s, but I don't know yet when he stopped. I know
I
he did something in
remember-
83. He did something in 83.
I looked him up recently because he's from Canton, Texas, when
That's
I
right,
found the name,
exactly.
and that's sort of between here and Louisiana for me, about 100 miles or so.
Yeah,
the
it's not
east.
too far from Dallas.
Right.
And I'm also working on two other ones. One by a hand-painted cachet maker, Hiram I. Swindell, who did his own non-commercial cachets as well as did cachets for a number of commercial people, including GAM, DRC, and Harris, Diamond, and a few others. But I'm looking especially for his non-commercial ones, hand-painted. If anybody collects his covers or has a cover, I greatly appreciate it. And the third person was done in the 30s. I'm not sure anybody's doing that in the 30s. Lottie Eshelman, Lottie is the first name, Eshelman, Eshliman. She did cachets in the 30s, naval as well as first days. They're not easy to find.
Can't help you with any of those three, I think. Yeah, I collect 797.
Yeah, I can't remember if she did one for seven. She certainly in the period, but I don't remember if she did any for 797 or not. I'm sure it'd be hard to find.
Well, I have one item that's gonna go off sale in about 20 days. Would you like to see it, Foster?
Okay, is it what you were talking about earlier? Go ahead.
Mm.
I need to order some of them. That's the history of hockey souvenir sheet from 2017, I think. Trying to read. And they are off sale in Kansas City at the end of this month. So if anyone's doing any hockey covers, I guess I need to buy them now. And when you're done, if you unshare it, we'll see each other again. Lefty, can you unshare it? Yep. We're back. What else would people like to show or talk about, or?
I have several covers I'd like to look at, and one stamp that actually it's a sheet of stamps that was canceled first day of close to a first day of issue. So if I could,
Do you know how to use share screen?
oh yeah, I do.
It's enabled for everyone.
Okay,
I'm very trusting.
okay. Should be coming up in a second here. Come on. There we go. I know that this is a number 630 souvenir sheet, White Plains, and it's canceled within the period of what's considered a first day cover. However, it has a full gum on the back that's never been hinged, so I'm not sure if this would be considered canceled to order or used or pre-cancel. I just wasn't sure. I know that they're difficult to find in used condition.
I'm guessing somebody attended the show and canceled it.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it'd be considered a canceled order since it was never placed on an envelope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wasn't sure about that, but I've been looking for a used copy of this for quite a long time, and
What does
finally
the cancel read?
How does it compare in price to the first day cover?
well, the one I got, I paid quite a bit lower because the first day cover cancel or catalog's around $400 to $500, and this one I got for $75. And it does say international. It's kind of hard to read, but it says, you know, the international exhibition, and it was from, I believe, September 20th, 1926.
No, it's
it'd
from
been
the actual
October.
show.
It would have been
in
in October.
Yeah, October. It was canceled within the period.
Or during the show?
Yes.
Yeah, so probably canceled at the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's see, earlier today, let me find it here. Here we go. We were discussing covers that were add-ons, and this is one I recently picked up on eBay, and it looks like it's a Masonic Masonic mark, and the back of the cover does say add-on on it.
I can probably guess who it came from.
Who would you
RPH?
think? For who?
Was the seller RPH?
No.
Okay, he does a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of Masonic. Usually later issues and these earlier issues.
Yeah, because I've been. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, he does more later issues than earlier ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the Masonic symbol is usually usually a bit different than this symbol.
Mm.
And usually he doesn't put add-on. He advertises them as add-ons, but he doesn't put add-on in the back of the envelope, so it could be somebody different.
I usually lose out to the Masonic collectors on them, so.
Yeah, I know, I do too. Because I collect the C76, and he does a lot of Masonics on the C76.
Okay.
They're all add-ons.
Yeah. They
Now, if
oh,
you
go ahead.
were exhibiting, this would not be allowed probably, right?
It depends on how you're doing your exhibit. And if it's clearly marked as if you do a section of add-ons, it's probably okay.
Yeah, it is.
If you're doing a cachet study.
You're right.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting because in a lot of the auctions there have been other later covers from like the 1950s that of very common stamps that people were spending $50, $60 a piece or more on them. People got into a bidding war on certain covers that were similar to this. They were in color though, but I just thought that was interesting. I noticed a lot of add-ons just for both early and modern day covers.
Yeah, eBay is full of them. eBay is full of them.
Yeah. And let's see what else. They had another cover. This is another one I just got off from the same auction. It's a Washington cover, but I wasn't sure if this cancellation was, it looks like it's legitimate because it says it's registered, but I just thought it was strange that they'd have a black cancellation and then a red one or a purple or red.
The red cancel is the registry cancel that you see quite a bit. So it's probably legitimate.
Oh, good. Okay.
I don't recognize the cachet, but.
And it wasn't it didn't say add-on on the back of it, so.
No, it has a number underneath too.
That's a registry number.
Yeah.
It looks legit.
Yeah.
Don't use me as an expert when you sell it, but it looks legit to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good. Good. let's see, what else did I have that I wanted to
But
share?
my gut feeling on that one, it's not of the period. It doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't look of the period. The stamps and everything are okay. The cachet
Do
looks
you have
like,
do you have a Planty?
I do, yes. I
You
haven't
might
looked
check
it
the
up yet.
Planty.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's just been interesting. Let's see, some others, they might be interesting. Let's see what I've got here. This one, it looks like it was canceled on a ferry schedule.
cool.
And this
I
is
remember
the,
that first day ceremony was at the NAPEX show. They did that stamp and the, I think one of the pink roses, I think it was. And there are a lot of people who did cachets based on ferry tickets and things like that. That's a nice one.
oh, thank you. Yeah, this is the back side of it.
Usually we consider that ephemera.
Okay, let's see, what else have we got here?
Some of us have cancels on anything.
Yeah. Well, this is another one. This was a first, I think it's a first rice.
That's definitely original cachet.
Okay.
That's a rice, isn't it?
Yeah,
Looks
it's their
like-
first one,
Yeah.
first set. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what else. You have interest. I went to my first APS show in Spokane, Washington, and it was 40 years ago. And this is one of the covers that they sold at the APS show there. This was actually put out by our local Museum of Native. It's now it's under a different name, but it was from one of the local museums in Spokane. And I also like business-related covers, and this one was from the American Kennel Club envelope with the dog stamps.
Very nice.
And the last one I'll show is from my hometown. This is a Kennedy cover that was canceled in Boise, Idaho. And I've been looking for this one for quite a while, so.
You know who the cachet maker is?
I'm not sure. I've seen it before because the person that designed it did one for each. They had the same picture and flag, and then they had the state with the outline of the state with their capital on it.
You should contact Henry Schuer. He collects these. And he'll
Okay.
probably tell you who the cachet maker is.
Okay, alrighty. So let's see, I think that's all the ones I wanted to share. So thank you for letting me share those. So I'll go back to the main screen here. How do I-
Top on share.
Oh, stop share. Okay, there we go. Okay, all done. Thank you.
I have one other quick item for the Pacific Northwest.
Go ahead and pop it up, Lefty.
I have a lot on eBay with 2 of these, and one of the sheets is the POW MIA stamp. So if anybody needs the pain of 10 from the Pacific Northwest, I have 2 of them for sale. Thank you.
Anybody from Washington live near the rainforest? I know that Vera, where she moved to, is fairly close to it. Oh, you're back.
She's probably the closest one of those here, but she's on mute.
Vera, you're muted.
Yes, the whole rainforest is probably about 50 miles from where I live. It rains 190 to 200 inches a year. Where I live, it rains 16 inches a year. So we have a lot of difference out here in Washington.
Does it extend up into Vancouver Island and like that? Or is it just in Washington?
It's all part of the temperate rainforest in this area, but of course, Vancouver Island's in Canada, so it's a different rainforest in name.
But it's still the same type of thing.
Same type of thing. It's not rainforest the entire way. For instance, there's a lot of Native American land right at the very tip of the north and west side of Washington at the corner, so to speak, where the Strait of Juan de Fuca meets the Pacific Ocean. But it's all part of the same temperate, I think it's the largest temperate rainforest in the world.
And the Hall of Mosses is my favorite part of it. It's heavenly. You walk through and there's moss and it's falling down the trees and everywhere, making tunnels and overviews.
That's cool.
They have a similar climate. If you go to Nanaimo, near the center of Vancouver Island, but then head west over the hills toward the west coast of the island, you'll get a climate similar to that in the Olympic rainforest. Enough elevation to catch all the rain coming directly off the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, well, people only think of rainforests down in Brazil or someplace in the tropics, but the United States does have a rainforest.
We were just talking about ephemera. This is the latest piece I picked up. It was in an auction described as a ceremony program. Well, it turned out it wasn't the ceremony program. It's actually the Homestead National Monument National Parks brochure. But still a neat little item. It's a 6-page brochure, canceled on the first day. That came in yesterday's mail.
Nice.
That's from the Fixer Upper Real Estate in Nebraska, right?
Something like that. No, see what else I have that's interesting that folks may or may not have seen on Facebook. If anyone else wants to show things and talk, please go ahead.
I got 2 more things to show, and they're very modern, and I feel that anyone who really knows me knows that I get upset when people poo-poo modern stuff, because modern stuff someday will be antique stuff. And so one of the things, let me turn on here, let's see. One of the things I have a small collection of, and I know exactly I'm not going to be able to do much more with it, because the Postal Service doesn't do this anymore. I decided to collect the imperfect stamps, but only with the digital color postmark. And I have a couple. I have almost every one of them. There's 2 or 3 that I have not been able to find, and I ended up making some myself, making some of the cachets myself. But this one is quite unusual. If some of you know, these were the ones that precipitated the Postal Service stopping this, because according to the rumor was some dealer snapped up every single one of these from the philatelic agency. Well, not everyone, obviously. And these go for $65 to $70 for a set of the stamps, not the first day covers, of the stamps. So I went from 2012 to 2016. I got most of them. And the ones that I really got were these.
Those bottom 2 are the ones that really cause the problems.
The bottom 2?
La Cueva del Indio. If you want to know who bought them, just look at Mystic's ad on Lynn's every month. That was
okay.
Like a $7 stamp, and Mystic went and bought them all. Richard Allen was able to get some from a collector dealer who managed to get his order through. I did do some Richard Allen imperfs.
Well, I have all of them, and of course the big one is this one right here, Columbia River Gorge, which is $22.50. I was able to, and these are my cachets, by the way, for my personal use, because Artcraft went out of business. And therefore, I no longer had those nice, colorful Artcraft things also. But so I collected these first day covers. They have to have the imperfect stamp plus the digital color cancel. I'm not interested in the black first day of issue or the black pictorial. They have to have this. And, and I actually have a sheet of 10 of the Columbia River Gorge in perf too.
The other
Which is,
rare one from that same month was was it Botanical Art, or the book came out at the APS show in Atlanta.
yes.
And that
How
one
many
I
of
was
them?
lucky enough to order 2.5 weeks in advance the day it went on sale. I actually got some.
How many of them do you want? I have them with first day covers and such and like that. And I was very pleased. Matter of fact, on this one, you helped me unbeknownst, Foster. I sent these into Kansas City to get the digital color postmark. And they came back and they all had the black and white pictorial. So I said, oh boy. So I said something on one of the stamp things and you said, well, contact so-and-so.
Celia.
Yes, and she will be able to help you. Well, so I called her and she said, oh, just send them back and with the ones you had done incorrectly and we'll replace them. And I said, we have one small problem. I said, these are not the ordinary stamps. These are the, whatchamacallit, the in-perf stamps that are no longer on sale. And she said, well, don't worry. She said, we always have a few here. And I said, well, I hate to send the other one back. What are you going to do with them? She says, I'll destroy them. I said, but they've got those, the stamps, the in-perf stamps that are off sale and everything. And she thought, and she said, I'll tell you what, she said, when they do an edit, when they do an audit, she said, they're not worried about the individual stamps. We have to have the correct, amount. She said, go to your local post office, pick up some stamps, some of the recent commemoratives that go up to the same amount, send those in and make it attention me. And so I got the ones that were done wrong, plus these too. So I was very happy.
She takes good care of us.
So, but these right here are very, I don't know of anyone else who collects them with the parameters that I have set. So
I did them for a number of issues, but mainly toward the end, I don't have a complete set or anywhere close.
well, I'm lacking about 5 or 6 things, and I don't have a complete set either. And I watch on eBay. I do all sorts of searches. I put it other places, and no one seems to be interested. Of course, why would they be? Because the post office, you can't add to them anymore because they haven't done it in 4 or 5 years.
I'll just say I did my part to harass Mary Ann Penner when she was a director of stamp services to bring them back on sale. That's one battle I did not win. I even reminded Mary Ann that I knew where she lived. She used to live about 3 or 4 miles from me. We were talking one day. She said, oh, they're building a new school across the street from me. I said, all right, now I know exactly where you live. But we lost that battle. They just got too much flack and they didn't want to get involved in it.
Right.
And they lost a lot of money.
But anyway, so those are the 2 things, the McDonough stamp and these digital color things. And I think they make a great display.
Agree.
See what else I have here.
Well, on that note, I have a couple of pages showing the upcoming Christmas and previous year's Christmases, if you'd like to see them.
Go ahead and throw them up.
here is the upcoming Christmas stamps and some of the cancellations for this year. And then the stuff that's still available from the caves from previous years. I still have some of the Santa Claus stamps available up on eBay.
Those Santa Claus souvenir sheets will never be worth anything, because all of us bought a whole bunch of them.
And then, of course, for those who aren't exactly Christians, you can still get the Halloween stamps from last year. So
Go back to the top,
very well.
all the way back to the upcoming one
For this year, very well.
this year. I'm trying to figure out, because obviously, where are the two barns?
I asked Roy Betts for the Postal Service staff the other day, and the only answer they said, they're stock photos, and we can't tell you where they were taken. So I tried.
Well, I guess I'll have to use the Google search on images,
If you find out, let us know.
because I'm hoping it was, one of them would be in Vermont, and that would give an excuse for us to try and get a pictorial cancel.
Well, with all the bozo maneuvers they got from the lawyers and the judges concerning the Statue of Liberty stamp in Las Vegas, you can understand why they keep it under wraps.
Well, not really. It's that's complete. That's a whole different ball game. But
I may very well ask Bill Gicker, Chief of Stamp Services, if he'll tell us.
you know, and the idea, I think eventually they may be stock photos, but they should be giving credit where credit is due, like the horses and the owl. You know, those are really done very well.
I'm guessing the rabbit and the owl don't have agents, so we're safe.
Well, I agree that the stamp photographs were actually very well put up for these stamps. A lot of times you get like the red, white, and green stamps. It's like, yeah, okay, duh. Well, how about some stamps with some decent detail to them, like the winter sceneries? I agree with those. It's like, yeah, okay, those are stamps that people might buy for Christmases. Oh, back to
Probably the same people who are buying all the fruits and vegetables right now.
Well, all I know is the deer and the bunnies are from my yard.
You recognize them, do you?
I recognize him. I know that deer anywhere. He's in the yard every night along with 7 or 8 of his friends.
But I thought you'd relocate all the rabbits.
I've killed a couple of rabbits. I've been relocating
Oh,
squirrels.
that's right. It's a squirrels you relocate.
Yeah, there were a couple of rabbits who died of lead poisoning in my backyard.
rabbits.
The deer, however, are a different problem.
You have bobcats. There was a lady here in the local paper has a picture of a bobcat that was underneath her camp.
No bobcats in Iowa. A lot of deer, though.
A lot
How
of
about
deer
moose?
everywhere.
How about moose? Any moose in Iowa? Lots of them around here.
There's a moose lodge in town.
No, that's a different type of moose.
I believe that's a little too far south for the moose to go.
No.
You know, if you're driving north on the East Coast, you know you're in Maine when you see the moose warning signs.
That's right. Even in Vermont and New Hampshire, you see these signs that say, next 2 miles, watch out for moose. Because if you and a moose hit, the moose is going to come out of it alive, and you probably aren't.
Or you're going to at least come out with a lot of damage to your car.
A lot of damage to your right. And they've
A
been known
moose can
to
run
across-
40 miles an hour, so if you get them pissed and they come chasing you, you'd better be quick.
The only moose I've ever seen up close was at Big Sky Resort in Montana, where there was an elderly moose that wandered through the parking lot every night. They said, just give him 5 feet. He's too old to do anything to you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say goodnight because, as I said to Foster earlier today on the other one, this is almost past my bedtime and I have to get up early in the morning.
Good night, and thank you for coming.
I
Yeah,
just think you should
well.
have, these things should become a definite fixture, whether it's a virtual stamp show or a regular stamp show. It's really cool.
Well, the
I'm
virtual
seriously
stamp
thinking
club
about
has a
having
chat
the AFDCS
every
hosted
Sunday at 4 o'clock East time.
I got two people talking at once.
Foster, go ahead.
You go ahead first, then I'll follow through.
Okay, the virtual stamp club's Facebook page has a chat like we're having right now every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So if you go on to the virtual stamp club's Facebook page and scan down through it, there'll be a showing of where that talks about the chat, and then there will be a link where you can go to the Cisco WebEx site, which is similar to what we're doing here on Zoom, and it's a live chat that lasts from 4 till 5 o'clock Eastern time, and it's free. Over to Foster.
I've been seriously thinking about scheduling some kind of monthly AFDCS chat.
I think it's a great idea. And I promise not to hog the talking. I have a tendency to do that. So people who are around me and in meetings here know they'll say, Glenn, you need to give other people a chance. And I don't get upset. So, well, anyways,
Foster won't let you. He takes the first word every time.
well, I bet I could if I got really going. Have a good evening.
One of the roles of the moderator is if that conversation lacks,
That's right.
start things back up. So let me throw. One of the things I've been accumulating is covers from the original art cover exchange. Now, Tricia and others are members of the current one. This is one I picked up this week. What was interesting was the letter that was in it from one ACE member. Apparently, Cora Miller, who got this, was an ACE member, and there's several covers addressed there. This one is a nice little hand drawing. But what's more interesting about this one was the letter that was in it. Don't know how much of this you can read, but for example, she's talking about going to see the movie Gone with the Wind.
Well, all I can see is the cover, so I can't read the letter at all.
I may not have popped it up then. But what was nice was there were two I bought. This, see, can you see this one? This is the other one. Can you see the one?
This looks like the same cover as before.
You're back to the first image with the boat and the 1 and 2 cent stamps.
I'm going to do it a different way.
You know who number 287 is, or?
I have the names. In fact, it's on the back of the cover. So let me try and do this the way.
Does eBay have a ACE?
I have a list of all the ACE original ACE members. There's one of Pete's good friends, Florian Keller, has a private Facebook page for all the early ACE covers, and he has a list of all the members. Anyway, this was the other one I got from the same auction. And it too has a letter in it. The writer is saying how she's celebrating Christmas and how they had a lot of snow in Maine, so she couldn't go out and visit anyone. Let me try showing one of the letters. Probably can't read that anyway, so. But there were like 400 and some members in the original ACE, and there is a list of all the members. So if I looked carefully, I could tell you who ACE 287 was. In fact, I can probably find it on Facebook quicker.
Yeah, Mark Goodson has by number, by name, the addresses, the cities. He's got a very extensive list because he has a huge ACE collection.
ACE 287 was Sylvia Bailey from Greenville, Ohio. She's the one who wrote the letter about reading the book The Yearling and going to see Gone with the Wind. And the Christmas cover is from Delia Goodwin from Maine. And it's very nice on both of the covers. They put their names in the back, so it's
Yeah,
fairly
very
easy to
nice,
identify.
not everybody did that.
While we have all these experts here, I've been looking high and low for the settings feature that would allow me to put up a still in my photo area instead of just my name happens to be. How do you find this settings feature where you can change the still behind you?
I believe you need to log into Zoom, if I remember right. I found it one time. I'm trying to, we'll get Zoom this year. Let's try my account.
I logged into my Zoom account, but there were pages and pages and pages of options, and I couldn't find a way to put a JPG file in to act as my background instead of a camera.
Carol Edholm just did it. She made herself a P-foul so
I
she
was
could
gonna say, is that
explain
what
it.
you're talking about, Lefty? Is that? When you turn
Yes,
off your
something that
camera?
you can put in instead of a camera if you don't have one.
Right. How did I do that? I forgot. It's been a while.
Or in
I'm
Carol's
looking at-
case, even if she does have a camera. You
That
just
way-
did it.
That way I can cough in the background and you're not going to see me.
There we are. You're back again.
Somebody find it? I'm still looking for it in the setting.
Well, I'm not logged into Zoom, so I'm just here as a participant.
I thought it was in the Zoom profile, but I don't see it here.
Granted, well, you don't have to be logged into Zoom to participate in a teleconference like we are here, but
Right.
to change your own account parameters that Zoom pulls up when you do something,
Here's
that's
how
where they
you,
would be hidden.
if you log into Zoom, let me just share the screen here. If you log into Zoom and go to profile, it shows right here what's displaying. If you click on change there, you can upload an image to be your profile picture. That
Thank you,
makes
sir.
sense?
That I understand completely. Thank you, sir.
I worked in IT for 42 years, spent far too much time answering questions like these, so I can usually find almost anything. Half the time after the person gets, immediately after they get off the telephone.
Yes.
And I seem to have lost my Zoom screen.
Well, we still see you.
Yeah, we're
I don't
seeing
see
your
it
main
right now.
computer
I'm
screen.
just trying to figure out what I did.
You
just
must be
need to
connected somehow.
Yeah, you need to unshare.
Thank you.
There you go.
Sometimes you need that second set of eyes. The famous words, duh.
Dave's not here, man.
I know where that line came from. Good old Cheech and Chong. Let's make a drug deal. A staple of my college dormitory in the 1970s.
Or the
Dave's
old
not
Cheech
here.
and Chong line when they see the senioritas in the bikinis walking down the street, they just say, "Shake it, you won't break it." Yeah.
And my favorite line from that one, oregano, you put it in your soup, Mon. You had to have listened to it back then to appreciate it.
Sean's out there selling stuff online. Every day I get a commercial from Sean. He's out there. Still selling. Getting paid for it now.
When I was in college, and it wasn't any of us used drugs or anything, but just a favorite. That was one of our favorite albums. All the bad comedy.
All right.
Anybody else? Pete, you've been fairly quiet tonight. Anything you want to show us? You're muted, Pete. He's
Yeah, he
ignoring me. Smart man.
I clicked something and lost my screen here. I don't know. I'm trying to get back to
Anybody else have things they like to show, talk about? Tricia, and anything else that you found recently? You seem to have almost as many collecting interests as me, which is good.
I've got quite a few, but I'm not on my computer tonight. I'm on Darcy's computer, so my stuff is on the other computer, but I thought I had a choice of using my computer or using hers that has a camera, and I decided I'd really rather participate than show.
I did get yesterday. I got the last cover order. Where are they? The
Yes.
19th Amendment.
That's the one I did.
Which one you did? You did this one.
I did that one with the color cancel,
And Darcy.
and Darcy did the other one.
And you also sent me this one.
Yes, that was an ace cover I did.
Yeah.
But it had something to do with a national park.
National Forest, as I read the cancel.
Yes. I thought you might like that.
Yeah. We were, the ugly looking woman's 75th anniversary stamp, the one we were talking about this afternoon that came out at the Museum of the Woman in the Arts in DC, which was the wife of Postmaster General Marvin Runyon's favorite charity. They got a whole bunch of stamp issues. I don't think I have that. I have all kinds of unofficials on that issue. I don't think I have that cancel either. I'll probably scan it in for Facebook later.
I bought a cover lot that had 5 or 6 of them in it. And one of them has a different date on it that is 2 days before the stamp was issued. So they used it fraudulently to get the event cover.
Probably accidentally.
Oh, well, perhaps.
Maybe
For an event cover? Maybe it got sold accidentally, or they sold under the table somehow.
Event covers are often canceled after the event.
Or before the event.
So
they backdated the cancels.
Well, you're not supposed to submit stamps that weren't released until the event, but sometimes they sneak through.
Sometimes there'll be a multi-day cancel, and you'll ask for the first day, and they give you an earlier date anyway.
Right.
Call a predate cover.
An unintentional, unwanted predate. I really prefer with the right first day, an official cancel.
Oh, Tricia, you made a beautiful cover. I'm glad I got to see it. I enjoyed it. I'm going to make for women exhibitors, if you would like to show your cachet and write something up about either doing them, making them, you could also promote ACE and the American First Day Cover Society. We would love to publish it in the WE expressions.
Well, maybe.
Okay, think about it. It was a nice cover.
When we finally go back to having live stamp shows, I've just about finished a compendium exhibit of the 1970 50th anniversary women's suffrage stamp. I did it at Southeast Stamp Expo in January. That was the theme. So I got voluntold to do a one-frame non-competitive exhibit. I said, well, I want to learn how to exhibit right. So I expanded into a competitive exhibit. Rick Gibson, before he moved out of Maryland, I went up to his house a couple of times and gave me a lot of tips and told me everything that I needed to know, everything I thought I knew that I shouldn't know.
Is that what you wanted the program for?
Yes.
It was sad this year we were supposed to have WE Fest at Chicago PEX, which was canceled, and we were going to celebrate women's suffrage, and we were getting exhibits from all over. People were making them. It was going to be essentially most exhibits on the floor were going to be either about women's suffrage. We had costumes to wear throughout the show. It's sad.
That there is nobody collecting first day covers of the 1970 stamp. So it was good for me to collect because there were a lot out there. Tricia, hold the window.
This is Darcy's ace cover for the event, first day cover for it.
Oh, that's nice.
The stamp I'm collecting is a 6-cent one in the middle there. The blue.
Right.
There you go, show them that one.
And,
She says to
Tricia,
show you this one too. This is a double canceled on a art craft.
I have several of those.
Pull it back a little bit further. You're up against the screen. There you go.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
But I had a ceremony program for the issue. It's surprisingly scarce for a 1970s program. The one I had didn't have a cancel on it. Tricia had one, so now I have one with a cancel.
Well, you know, I had two, or I wouldn't have given you one of them.
That or you would have put it on eBay and made me pay big bucks for it. I would have.
Well, Foster, I'm looking forward to seeing your exhibit.
That will be my first competitive exhibit. I might even win the Wii Award.
Okay, I'll talk to the judge. Just let me know where you're going to be exhibiting.
Hopefully Southeastern Stamp Expo. But we have a very good jury lined up. Peter McCann is the chairman, so it'll be a tough set of judges. And we have Harry Potter as an apprentice judge.
Oh, that's exciting.
I think that's Van's first apprenticeship.
When is the show?
Hopefully it'll be the last weekend in January.
Oh,
This year we're going to be the week after Sarasota. Normally Sarasota is the week after Southeast, but it would have conflicted with a football game in Tampa called the Super Bowl. So they moved up 2 weeks.
yeah, in Washington State, we will not probably be having shows and yet be allowed. We won't be in phase 4, I don't think, by then. So
Probably not.
January.
We would normally be having one of our local club shows that weekend, but I don't think we'll be having it.
Florex in December in Florida, according to what Liz Heisey said at the Collectors Club chat the other night, that they are still looking to hold their show.
Well, good for them.
That's the second
Good luck.
weekend in December.
Yeah.
And we're only allowed to have groups of 5 people outdoors in the week.
That probably wouldn't work for a stamp show.
I don't know. I'm
Well-
very leery about going to anything right the next month or two.
Well, earlier today we were talking to some guy from the Peace Arch Stamp Club up in Canada, and they've been having outdoor boot sales where you basically sell out of your trunk of your car. And they've had, I think, 4 or 5 of those this summer, and they've gone pretty well. But of course, that depends on having good weather.
Not having forest fires up on the hill where if you go walking around, you'd better have a mask on because you can't breathe in 20 minutes after that.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I see the picture of it from Lisa there.
You can
Interesting.
pull it back a little bit so we don't have it obscured. There you go.
Right. Personally, I'm waiting for the post office to start holding first day ceremonies again. I haven't been to one since March. There hasn't been one since March. And I'm actually at the point where if they ran a ceremony with appropriate social distancing, I guess they have to have the ceremony autograph table 6 feet apart. But I would probably go to it about now. I think I mentioned in an earlier chat that the last ceremony they held was for the Arnold Palmer stamp, and there were 7 of us collectors there. That was it. And a lot of golfers for a golf tournament. I was scheduled to golf for the Maine statehood, and that was going to be a Sunday ceremony. Wednesday night, I was watching TV, and they cut into one of the sporting events and how the NBA was stopping their season. And about 15 minutes later, I said, I'm not going up to Maine. I had to decide by Thursday on a 2-day advance cancel in a hotel room, and well, Friday morning they canceled the ceremony.
Well, the other good scenario about ceremonies here in Oregon, a few years back, they had the Wild and Scenic Rivers ceremony in Bend, Oregon. And they came in the day before and got everything prepped. And the ceremony, they came in, got everything set up, started the ceremonies, started the presentations, blah, blah, blah. And then at about 10 o'clock, it started to drizzle, and they shut everything down in about 20 minutes. It tells you about how the folks in Washington are ready for rain in Oregon. Oh, well.
My favorite, when Glenn was here, I mentioned Defenders Day and the Battle of Fort McHenry. Years ago, they issued a Fort McHenry postal card, a Sunday night ceremony on Defenders Day, and it was like part of the nighttime celebration, which is an annual thing in Baltimore. And when I left my apartment, there was this one little cell on radar north of Baltimore. Well, about 6 o'clock, the skies absolutely opened up. Everybody retreated to their car for well over an hour. Then they had the ceremony anyway. And fortunately, by the time it was over, they were still able to shoot up the fireworks, and we could see the rockets' red glare. And Fort McHenry does good fireworks.
Is that done every year for July 4th, or?
They do it for June 14th for Flag Day, and September 9th for Defenders Day. That being the holiday when Fort McHenry was saved.
The big news is they're going to do away with their song, Maryland, My Maryland.
If you look at some of the lyrics with good reason.
You understand?
The song was written during the Civil War,
right,
when
Confederacy.
Large parts. Maryland is a very interesting state in the Civil War. Half of it was northern and half of it was southern, depending on whether it was farms in western Maryland or
Right.
tobacco farms in eastern Maryland. Tobacco farms used to slavery.
Right.
And the interesting trivia is the first military death in the Civil War was, of course, not at Fort Sumter.
It's in Baltimore. Yeah.
But when they got off the wanted to march from what's now Penn Station to Camden Station, and the Baltimore people stoned the Union troops. But Maryland, My Maryland has some very benign verses and some that reflect the pro-South sentiment. And that's probably, it talks about effectively killing Lincoln. And when they played the song, I'd say 90% of the people only remember hearing Maryland, My Maryland,
Right.
and that's the tune of "Oh Christmas Tree."
Right. Well, Tannenbaum.
Star Spangled Banner, Francis Scott Key was also very pro-slavery. If you read into some of the verses in that, but personally, times have changed, and we need to understand history. Now, talking to stamp collectors, that's probably a given. But if we forget the history, we'll allow them to make the same mistakes over.
Here.
Which you do
One
anyway.
thing, I need to step out. I have
Right,
a
it's
radio
time to leave.
emergency network I have to go check into, so I'll be back in about 20 minutes. Thank you.
We'll probably go for about another 40, unless you folks want to go on more. I think I'm at about 6 hours on Zoom today, so. And in between, I managed to catch part of the virtual alumni day of my alma mater, listen to the president of the college give the state of the school speech.
When did you go to college, Foster?
I graduated in 1976. I went to Stevens Institute of Technology in glorious Hoboken, New Jersey. The first pure engineering school in the United States.
Right.
And unlike some colleges so far, and they just did 1,500 more tests no positive tests COVID-19 among students, faculty, or staff. since
It's
they went back
amazing.
On campus.
It's amazing.
They're limiting it to right now on campus, the freshmen and transfer students.
Hmm.
And New Jersey required everyone coming into the state to quarantine for 14 days and then be tested. So fortunately, New Jersey took Maryland off their bad list 2 weeks ago. I got to go and visit my family. Let's see what else I can find here to show. And anything particular anybody wants to see?
Why don't you show everybody Rick Gibson's new house?
Okay.
I got the Home Sweet Home card in the mail today, but I don't have a scan of it. Rick moved to Wisconsin last month, and I sent him an email, welcoming him to the Midwest, and emailed me back saying, "Get your butt up here and help us unpack."
For those who don't know Rick, he's a collector, now a full judge. He exhibits Smokey and the tie-in when everything's been going on. He exhibits Smokey Bear and forest conservation because he flew those planes. He lived in Frederick, Maryland up until the end of July. He not only collects Smokey Bear covers, he collects everything known to man that depicts Smokey Bear. You want Smokey Bear wine bottles? He has them. Playing cards. His basement or probably still is a Smokey Bear museum.
Was he a fireman or a forest ranger or
No, pilot.
a pilot?
He flew the tankers to put out the fires.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
We believe that double-sized garage there is not for his boat. That's probably for his Smokey collection.
Yeah.
Really, Rick's helped me out quite a bit when I was beginning to start on my exhibit, and he's now a fully accredited judge. They moved to Somerset, Wisconsin, and if you go to the Somerset, Wisconsin town site, it says features. The main feature in the town is 2 miles from Minnesota. But Debbie, his wife, is from Minnesota, and she went out, and they moved back there.
The house sits on about 5 acres of land that they're going to have to run a big John Deere mower over all summer long.
Apparently, that's Debbie's job.
Yeah.
See you,
I'm
folks.
not kidding.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Thanks for everybody.
And both Rick and his wife Debbie love to drink wine. Rick is the red wine drinker, and Debbie is the white wine. When I was up there, when he was mentoring me on putting together the exhibit, and let's call out for pizza. Next thing I noticed is the bottle of wine open. For some reason, I didn't object. If anyone is, and I guess Pete's going to be the nearest one now. He does throw a very nice. He and his wife throw a very nice Christmas party every year.
I think Todd Ronnie is probably closer than me.
Yeah. Todd is already they're already recruiting Rick for the Minnesota Stamp Expo show committee.
Yeah. And Carolyn Marks is up there too.
Pete was there also. Went to Minnesota Stamp Expo last year. That was a nice little, not a huge WSP show, but a nice show. It was in a community center, plenty of parking. Cheap, reasonably priced refreshments. I think they had about 30 dealers, Pete?
Probably, yeah. Had an air conditioning system that was just on and off. It was like 45 degrees inside the building in August, which felt good because it was 95 outside or something like that. But boy, it was a cold room.
You weren't there on Sunday when it was 70 degrees outside, and the air conditioner was. Yes, it has 2 speeds, on and off.
On and off. Yeah.
I guess they don't run air conditioning that much in Minnesota.
No.
was a real friendly show. And hopefully I'll get out to SEAPEX next year. I'm now going after Ralph Nassinger's goal of being to every WSP show.
I'm surprised he had never been to an Apex
He's never been to NAPEX or BallPEX.
or Ballpex. Oh, Ballpex was the other one, huh?
Yeah. And until last year, he'd never been to NOJEX.
I haven't been to that one, but I've been to Apex and Ballpex.
And by the way, this year, BallPEX was actually going to be free.
You're kidding. No $5 charge?
They finally convinced the old timers that the show needed to get more people in, not less.
Is the dealer Geezers Tweezers still there?
He was one, yeah, Phil Sager, yes.
Yeah,
He was one of the ones fighting to get rid of the admission charge.
yeah.
And what happened, they didn't have the show anyway.
I went there to Ballpex years ago, and as I arrived on Sunday, the power went out in the hotel. And it was in the basement of the hotel. I had to walk down the escalator, and there were dealers stuck in the back that were trying to do business with flashlights that the hotel had brought down. And it was the weirdest show. I think I only stayed maybe an hour, which was kind of an irritation because it took me like 2 hours to drive up to it. But that was one recognition I had. I paid, and they took my money anyway. You know, they knew the lights were off. They didn't tell me. They took my money, and then I went down and said, "Where the hell's the lights?" And they should be back on soon.
Apparently, they may be finally renovating that hotel.
I don't know. When I lived on the East Coast, the only APS show I ever went to was the NOJEX show in New Jersey. Went there pretty much every year. And I go out to the AFDCS shows in Manhattan.
Where did you live?
I lived in Red Bank, New Jersey.
Right.
Now I'm in Seattle.
I grew up in Rutherford, New Jersey. So when NOJEX was in the Meadowlands Hilton until the parking garage collapsed, but that's another story.
Oh, that happened. That must have been since I left. I didn't hear about that. I used to park in that garage.
The year that there was a lot of snow on the East Coast, they piled too much snow on the upper level of the parking garage.
Oh, lovely.
And F equals M, I guess that would be whatever gravity formula would fit in. And when they held the show later in the year, the parking garage was still mostly closed. You had to park a mile away and ride a bus. The hotel also got bought by a new company, and they closed down the restaurant about a month before NOJEX, and didn't tell NOJEX that they called up the week before the final numbers from the awards banquet, and they ended up having to call out for pizza. Last 2 years, yeah, I guess it was last 2 years, NOJEX combined itself with the fall ASDA show, and they moved it into East Rutherford across from the football stadium, and turned into a very good show. Helped that's a mile from where my sister lives, so I had free lodging, but really did good business there. Sold a lot of first day covers. Everybody liked the covers Pete was doing for me. I guess you were going to, Eric, when it was in the what was that, the Meadowlands Hilton?
It may have been. It was, yes, it was in the Meadowlands someplace. Yeah, with a big parking garage, like you were saying, the one that probably was the one that collapsed. Yeah.
And if you walk through the Bourse floor, there was a hump in the middle where it dropped about 2 feet.
I don't recall that. I mean, it may have been, but I don't remember that.
Only half of the convention center was on a cement slab. Originally, I guess they expanded the size of it, and they didn't want to put a cement slab in. So as you walked, you reached the ground where it sank into the swamps.
Yeah, I have
I
no
like
memory
the-
of such a thing, but
I like the show anyway.
yeah, oh yeah, it's a great show.
Where was SEAPEX held?
SEAPEX is currently held in Tukwila at the Tukwila Community Center.
And that's a decent site for a show?
It has its advantages and disadvantages. There, unfortunately, there's no hotel right there, and there's no restaurant right there. So we have to go fairly, a few miles off site to get to the show hotel or get to the Words Banquet.
So sort of reminds me of Minnesota Stamp Expo. I can tell you where not to stay.
It's interesting. You'd think for the Pacific Northwest, there would be a lot of options for a large show, but there's a convention center all the way in Tacoma, and there's one in Seattle. There's very few venues that would fit. So the ones that have hotels and have ballrooms attached that you think, oh, I could put the show in the ballroom, their version is still too small to put all the dealers. It's challenging.
Then the hotels can make more money with weddings.
Yeah, there are a couple of hotels right next to the airport, next to the Seattle Tacoma Airport, which have pretty much the same size space as the Tukwila Community Center does, but of course they're a lot more expensive too.
And they charge $20 a day for parking.
Yeah. I mean, Tukwila Community Center has free parking.
And if it has decent load in and load out for dealers, that's definitely a plus.
It's fairly decent. It's actually a lot better than the two hotels do. Because I went and looked at the two hotels, and their load in and load out was horrible.
I went to IndiePEX last year, which is in Noblesville, Indiana, probably 35 miles north of Indianapolis, and it was in the county, not agriculture.
County Fair.
What was that, Pete?
The County Fair building.
County Fair building, and it was just the right size for a stamp show. There was plenty of parking.
Yep.
And the post office was across the street. So if I need to do unofficial cancel the Purple Heart stamp there, we just walked across the street. Noblesville is one of these suburban communities that if you go a mile outside, go 10 feet outside the city limits, you're in the cornfields. But it had every fast food and almost every hotel chain known to man.
But because of the county fair?
Because there's nothing else in the cornfields.
Yeah.
I was very surprised at how many different, I happen to like Marriott properties, and there was a nice Fairfield Inn, less than a mile from the county facility, and got a good rate. And I bought a lot of stuff at the show too.
Yeah.
I think facilities like that sounds like the one SEAPEX is in are probably the way for the future. Those are the only things that stamp shows can afford. There's a reason we no longer have an independent AmeriCover or National Topical Stamp Show. We can't afford it.
Right.
AmeriCover was in St. Louis last year, and we had the guarantee to spend $7,000 on food.
Oh yeah, that would be the deal at the hotel. I don't remember, it's 7,000, but it's a pretty substantial amount of money.
And what we ended up doing, I mean, if you spend less, you write a check. So what we ended up doing is buying free sodas and coffee and water and everything for all 3 days of the show.
Right.
Now the year before in Atlanta, we did the same thing, but we only did it for 2 days. And one of our non-members, who Pete and I were joking about before, we complained online, but there was no free sodas on Sunday. Well, those free sodas cost $1,200 a day.
But if you had to spend the money anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Florian complained that there were no free sodas on Sunday.
No.
And he's not even an AFDCS member. But that's life.
Yeah. Great stamp show story.
But that's basically why the larger societies have all joined with the APS.
Right.
And
Yeah.
hopefully next year we'll actually get to see how it works.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, I'm sorry that they're all joined together in the sense that they had before the shows were uniquely different. NTSS was different. First day, your show was different than the APS. So they had different milieus, things that were enjoyable. Getting that much time off and flying that much, and the cost also for attendees. In many respects, I prefer having it all together in one show. It was, at least last year's was a lot of fun. It was enjoyable. It's hard to see all the things there are to see, all the meetings, but so I have mixed emotions.
So more cost effective, but
That was the AFDCS lost a number of $1,000s last year in America, and that's not a sustainable model.
no.
We were always a week before or a week after APS, and for a while that worked because dealers would do both shows, but a lot of them were saying, well, I'm just going to do one show and I can get a lot more people, see a lot more people at APS, and we don't have the dealers, we don't make the money.
Exactly.
Now, we will try and implement, or not, I don't know, implement, we'll try and keep some of the fun features of AmeriCover, even if it's Great American Stamp Show, right? Although I'm told next year they're not going to use the name, it's going to be Chicago Stamp Show or something.
After all that work, voting and having everyone pick a name, they're not going to use it?
That's what Tom Lobing said the other day. I've heard the people in Chicago were adamant that they wanted their name on the show.
As hosts.
Yeah. And knowing a few of them, I guess it didn't surprise me. But yes, we spent a year coming up with a name, telling everyone it's the Great American Stamp Show, don't make too many gas jokes, and now they're not going to use it. We shall see. That's subject to change.
Yeah.
Maybe I gave away a secret, but
If they don't use it, we won't go because I'll be looking for the show with every 3 people and I won't see it. I'll say, oh, well, and not go.
part of it is the 2021 show in Rosemont is going to be, originally we called it Stamp Show on steroids. It's 5 years between internationals, so that they're going to have more exhibits, more dealers, and more foreign collectors coming over. The other interesting thing is in the next hall over is the American Numismatic Association holding their convention. So hopefully there'll be cross-fertilization. Hopefully, especially when all the coin collectors find out they can get into the stamp show for free. They'll come over and discover maybe they should be collecting stamps too.
Oh, so their show is the same time and nearby?
It's same. Rosemont has a absolutely huge convention center, and they're in. I think APS is in Hall D, and they're in Hall C or something like that.
Okay.
And all the coin collectors are high rollers, so they'll come in and buy lots of stamps. There we go.
I hope so. I hope that they will see what the fun we're having and join in. Certainly can't hurt. You just hope that we don't have too many stamp collectors that are also coin collectors and spend all their money across the hall.
No, that would be bad.
But it's something that has been talked about for almost 20 years. And I believe it's going to happen.
Well, I know I usually go to the, for the past few years anyway, except for this year, gone to the local big coin show. I don't spend much money there, just sort of look around.
I usually, other than this year, I usually have enough stamp events to go to.
Well, I was like the comment that Kaj was making about having the conventions in Vegas and having the local stamp club going to various places for buffets on Saturday. But the only one that was left earlier after the pandemic started was the Maximilians, and it was $30 a head But now they're at the South Vegas show where the buffet is $7 a head, and that tells you about the stamp collectors, right?
Most of them that I know of in this area can be cheap. Yeah.
I've had a lot of good meals with stamp collectors. Just have to make the choice. I've also gone to Subway or places like that at shows. In SEAPEX last year, I was very happy when Pete sent me an email telling me where the nearest Chick-fil-A was. I'd driven right past it and missed it the first day.
Well, Chick-fil-A is preferable than some of those Chinese buffets we've eaten with the Lazaros. Where I'm not quite sure where the meat came from. I think it had cat fur on it earlier in the day. I'm not sure.
We know, Pete, we know your opinion on the Chinese buffets, but
Yeah, I'm an Iowa boy. You just can't put that kind of food in me. I just can't go there.
I've been to a few of them with Chris Lazaroff, and I was amazed to find a very good Chinese buffet in Huntsville, Alabama. Ironically, it was across the street from my hotel.
Always the good thing to look for Asian food would be a sushi bar. Needless to say, the food has to be fresh to be authentic sushi, and you can't let it age or you can't eat it at all. So the Chinese stuff that may have been refried and quick boiled and flavored up a lot, well, maybe not. Then you can go to the American Chinese restaurant of P.F. Chang's and pay a ridiculous price for the same food you could get 3 blocks down the street at a Chinese buffet. But once again, if you can use chopsticks, like I learned how to do in Hong Kong and Japan, then if you go to a sushi bar, then more than likely you will have very good quality food. Some places you'll have to pay for it, but it is still good quality. Back to Foster.
Good Chinese or Asian buffets usually have a sushi section. That's probably the only place I eat raw fish.
Yeah, I'm kind of leery about the idea of sushi at a Chinese buffet.
I've had very good luck.
I go to a sushi restaurant, an actual dedicated sushi restaurant, but a sushi at a Chinese restaurant or Chinese buffet, I've never tried it. It may be okay. Just seems sketchy to me.
Well, once again, this food that has to be prepared in front of you and is still fresh catch and or fresh off the boat, that's the way that sushi has to be if it's authentic Japanese. And you can smell it if it's gotten several days old. As for the stuff that's deep fried or sweet and sour with a breading layer around it, well, that could be another story. But the actual fresh fish, there is a limit on how long they can let it sit in front of you. Back to Foster.
Oh, yeah.
All I know is if I'm meeting Chris Lazaroff for a ceremony and there's an Asian buffet, we'll probably end up there.
Yeah.
The one we really liked near Southeastern Expo closed down.
Probably by the health service.
No, the owner died and the family was fighting over it, and it never reopened. That was not the place we went to.
Okay, that place was closed by the health service.
I know if it doesn't have meat and potatoes, you don't want it.
That's right.
But
yeah, he wants meatloaf and boiled potatoes, and he'll be all set.
You want steak, pork chops,
and a Bud Light to go with it, right, Pete?
A Bud Light to go with it, yeah. Yeah, I want to know what kind of critter the food came from.
Yeah, well, you have all those gourmet restaurants in Iowa Falls.
Yeah.
Not.
Well, sushi in my part of the world is called fish bait, so.
I think Tricia agrees with you.
That's just a local problem I have.
Something tells me you've never been to Subic Bay. Okay.
I eat sushi once or twice a year. I actually like it. My local supermarket sells it now, and one of these days I'm going to try and see if it's any good.
Well, for what it's worth, here in Eugene, at a grocery store they call the Market of Choice. They have an independent company that makes sushi right in front of you. And on Wednesday, they have discount sushi that comes down from $12 to $6. They usually sell out by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that says it all right there.
So,
Well, my local grocery store has a sushi counter too. I've never tried eating any of it, so I don't know what it's like.
what else would people like to talk about? After 6 hours on Zoom, I'm beginning to run out of things to talk about.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out. It's been enjoyable seeing everybody and talking to you, and I enjoyed seeing your covers. But yes, I can't sit here any longer. I'm sorry.
After the last one, I had to get up and walk around my apartment building a number of times because I was stiff.
Yeah, I'm like, move out. All right, we'll see you hopefully tomorrow at SEAPEX.
Yeah. Take care,
Bye.
Lisa.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Or you could be like me,
Thanks to SEAPEX for having us again.
and when you had the opportunity to go swimming off the shores of the North Shore of Kauai and the Hawaiian Islands, and then come body surfing back into the beach, that was something that was always enjoyable. You see the picture from the city, a beach just north of the city of Prineville or Priceville on the North Shore of Kauai, and that's the North Pacific with the wind and the current coming behind you. They always have the big bragging about the big waves on the North Shore of Oahu. Well, that's the next island over. So we get the waves without the tourists. There you go.
I was surprised this morning to see Mr. Martin from Maui attend the meeting. I hadn't seen him since Omaha. I was surprised that he showed up.
If you hold it, they will come.
Yeah.
He's
He's a very interesting guy. And I met him for the first time in Riverside, where he walked by the table. I was running the AFDCS table and said, I think my membership is expired. Can you re-up me? And I did. And he bought one for his son. And then I saw him I started seeing his shows after that.
His son was with him in Omaha.
Yeah.
In fact, they were staying in the same hotel that I was at breakfast with him. In fact, one morning I drove him over to the show.
Yeah. And he's
The
really good
concept-
for buying a couple hundred covers from the AFDCS table too, for his children's activities that he does.
He does a lot of work
Well-
supporting youth stamp clubs.
Of course, the difficulty with Hawaii or anywhere else that's a long way from anywhere is shipping and handling. That's it.
Years ago, somebody proposed that the APS hold one of their shows out there. And somebody immediately said, no, it wouldn't work. The dealers would all drown driving to the show. Have you seen some of their vans? It's probably true.
Well, I'm
And
gonna
nowadays-
have to bid y'all good night. And I will see you sometime soon.
I think we're gonna have to do these on a regular basis.
We need to.
It probably won't be on well, of course, for the second Saturday, I'll put a plug in here. Second Saturday of every month at 10:30 in the morning or 9:30 in Dallas, we have our Grosvenor chapter meetings, and anybody can join in there.
Thank you. Good night.
And tomorrow, the virtual stamp club has their live chat at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the virtual stamp club's Facebook page is where the link will be.
Or 4 o'clock
okay.
for those of us in the East. Or 3 o'clock for Pete in Iowa. And by then, it'll depend on how the football games are going.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course,
but
now
I
the
think-
complication with coming to Hawaii is you have a 2-week quarantine before you can do anything. And with the cost of staying here, unless you're staying with your relatives, oh well, back to Foster.
Yeah.
New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut have that for like 35 states, but fortunately they took Maryland off the list so I could go back up there. My family likes me and I like my family, but 14 days probably would have been a little bit long.
So even though you cut through Delaware to get there?
Well, New
But
York,
generally, when I went to Maryland, I had to cut through a little corner of Delaware, and that's sort of, is that also out of quarantine?
for New York, New Jersey, and Maryland, anyone arriving in the state and staying in the state, coming from 35 of the 50 states, I think it's still 35, has to self-quarantine for 14 days. If you're just passing through New Jersey, that's fine. If you're an essential worker, that's fine. And they had a very high rate early on, and it went down because, in part because everyone had it, I think. But those are the rules they made. So
Probably similar to the rules that they have in Alberta and British Columbia for folks going to and from Alaska. You can travel through, but you have to have a tag on your car and you can't stop or take side trips.
But people were.
And they got caught, and the ones who
Yep,
got
a lot
caught,
of them
oh
got
boy,
caught.
did they get fined. Hey, we'll take all your money and maybe your car too.
which leads to the question I sort of asked earlier. Is it easily possible to drive from Washington State to Alaska?
I've never done it. I mean, there's a road that goes up that way, but I'm not
It is
sure
my
how easy that is.
recommendation for anyone going from Washington to Alaska to take the Alaska Marine Highway.
Right, there is
from
that.
Bellingham up, but don't take your car. Rent a car in Alaska, travel around, and then turn in the rental in Alaska and come back on the ferry without a car. The fare is significantly different.
I would expect so.
I need to get to Washington, Idaho, and Alaska. Then I'll have all 50.
Well, then my recommendation would be to fly to somewhere in Washington and rent a car, go across to Idaho, and then up through Bonner's Ferry and into British Columbia, then through Crow's Nest Pass into Alberta, and then up Alberta to the Alaska Highway and drive across Alberta, British Columbia, the Northwest Territory, and the Yukon Territory, and into Alaska. Definitely get a car with four-wheel drive and an extra tire and an extra gas can. Not quite as bad as Mexico, where you have to stop at the gas station and wait until the gas truck shows up the next day before you can go anywhere, because getting stuck out in the desert with no gas. But similar it is. Help is a long way away. And if you need to call for help, you better have at least a day for it to show up.
And now, within the U.S., the most rural or desolate section of the interstate system is I-70 in Utah, where it's 106 miles between civilization or between gas stations. I have driven the entire length of I-70, the entire length of I-80.
Okay, that's similar to the highway that goes from Jasper in the north end of the Columbia ice fields, west through Yellowhead Pass, and then north around to Prince Rupert. And the gas stations are 300 kilometers apart.
Supposedly, when they were building I-70 from Denver, it was going to go west to Salt Lake City, and the government wanted a shorter route to Los Angeles, so they built it through the middle of nowhere. It goes through like 110 miles through 3 climate zones. It starts out with desert, and goes up past all the arches and things, and ends up in a national forest.
Sounds like Interstate 15, yes.
It dumps off, it ends in Coldport, Utah at I-15, which then takes south around Vegas into Southern California.
Yep, Interstate 15. On that note, Foster Old Miller will never run out of things to say, but I'm going to sign off and have a good evening.
See you later.
It's just about 11 o'clock. Anybody else, anything to bring up?
No, I think it's time to call it a night.
Vera has come back.
Yep.
Maybe she was there the whole time.
I think she was there the whole time. She was just off camera.
I had a phone call to take, so sorry. I'm back and goodbye. Thanks for
I
including me.
definitely want to thank the people from SEAPEX for letting us do this.
Oh, thank
Sure.
you.
Oh, yeah, you're quite welcome.
I mean, every other stamp shows these are saying, well, we can't do anything this year. Instead, CPEC said, no, let's see what we can do.
Right, we had 7 weeks to put it together, and Carol has done most of the work.
Yeah.
Carol.
She was very easy to work with it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so.
I just threw the,
She did 98% of it, so.
and she was very happy. I said, no, I can handle my own Zoom. I don't need theirs. I don't need reservations.
Mhm.
And then I explained what I wanted to do for hospitality suite. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting.
Sure.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, and Pete, sure good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Vera, we'll see you in Atlanta or someplace.
Well, if not this coming year, the next year for sure. I'm needing to stay pretty COVID safe. I have a physician daughter who has her thumb on me most of the time, so I'm not quite sure she's going to let me out to come this year.
Hopefully, by time of Chicago, you'll probably see you there.
Sure, hopefully. Okay,
Yeah,
love being here. Hi, bye, everybody.
all right.
Last chance for anyone before I hit the big red end button.
Nope.
Thank you, Foster.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank everyone for coming. If nobody was here, it would be very boring and embarrassing. Have a good night and stay safe.
All right, you too.